So a shoulder dislocation has a huge impact on the structures around the glenohumeral joint. In this video, we're going to dive into our 3D anatomy model to show you all the different structures and layers that are affected by this dislocation. So if you're ready, let's dive in. Khalid here, welcome back to Clinical Physio. We're here with our 3D anatomy model to show you all the different structures that can be affected within a shoulder dislocation. So let's now peel back the layers to get a closer look, starting with the muscles. So beneath the surface, first of all, we're going to remove the deltoid muscle so we can see some of the key structures that play a major role in stability and mobility of the shoulder. Starting with subscapularis. Now, this is one of the rotator cuff muscles, and it has a major role in internal rotation of the glenohumeral joint. Next to it, we have the long head of biceps tendon. Now, naturally, this has a role in shoulder flexion as well as elbow flexion, but also the sheath that surrounds the long head of biceps tendon also has an important role in providing smooth movement to the shoulder. Then, if we look at some of the posterior structures, we have the supraspinatus muscle, we have the infraspinatus muscle, and we have the teres minor muscle. Now, all of these are a part of the rotator cuff group and heavily contribute to external rotation of the shoulder. So we can see that even with just the muscles, we have flexion, external rotation, and internal rotation, which all can be affected by this dislocation. The next structures we're going to have a look at are the bursae around the shoulder. We have the subdeltoid bursa, and we have the subacromial bursa. Now, both of these, as with all tendons, operate to try and reduce friction between different surfaces that are moving. So the subdeltoid bursa helps prevent friction between the humerus and the deltoid muscle. The subacromial bursa helps to try and reduce friction between the acromioclavicular joint and the supraspinatus tendon. So naturally, these can be inflamed and painful following a dislocation as well, which of course can be troublesome for the patient. Then we have a super important nerve in this region, which is the axillary nerve. Damage to this can lead to weakness and numbness around the shoulder. Now, this is one of the really key structures affected by a dislocation. What we sometimes find is that patients present with sensation loss around the lateral shoulder. This is called the regimental badge area because of the fact that the axillary nerve innervates that particular area. The axillary nerve also innervates the deltoid muscle as well as teres minor. But if we think about the deltoid muscle, this is a really powerful abductor of the shoulder. So if you have weakness through an injury to the axillary nerve, you could now potentially have the deltoid affected by the abduction, as well as the key muscles we mentioned before involved in flexion, external and internal rotation. So suddenly there's a huge movement loss potentially involved with a shoulder dislocation. So now let's take that all the way and look at some of the key ligaments in the lower levels of the shoulder. So ligaments are strong ropes that hold different structures together. And of course, particularly at the shoulder joint, they help to maximize stability around the glenoid and the humerus. So we have several ligaments to think about, including the superior, middle, and inferior glenohumeral ligaments, as well as the coracohumeral ligament and the posterior glenohumeral ligaments as well. These can of course get injured during a dislocation as well, and therefore further impact stability of the shoulder after the first dislocation. But that's not all. We have other soft tissue structures around the shoulder, such as the glenohumeral joint capsule, the articular cartilage of both the humeral head and the glenoid cavity itself, as well as, of course, the glenoid labrum, which is a really key structure that helps to improve stability of the shoulder joint. So you can see that when all of these structures can be affected, there can be a real issue that presents in the patient following shoulder dislocations. One particular injury of the glenoid labrum that we do see following anterior dislocations is a Bankart lesion. As you can see on the screen, this is a tear of the glenoid labrum in the anterior and inferior regions, sometimes described as between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And of course, when more of the labrum is torn, that stabilizing structure, it means that the patient is open to further dislocations. So we know with shoulder dislocations that up to 40% of them can include further injury to the structures we've seen, the axillary nerve, the ligaments, the labrum, the muscles, and therefore it's really important that following the patient's dislocation, we don't just help them get back, but we're also screening for other potential injuries along the way. So guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please support us by smashing that like button and subscribe to the channel for all our best updates. Remember, there's loads of resources on our Instagram account @ClinicalPhysio and on our website, clinicalphysio.com. My name's Khalid. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon here on Clinical Physio.